Over 8 million Americans ride motorcycles, but only half of them will tell you it changed their life. The other half quit before they figured out what riding actually does to your brain. This isn't about freedom or wind therapy or Instagram captions. It's about what happens when you can't hide behind airbags and autopilot anymore. The life-changing truth every rider learns but can't explain to non-riders. Riding forces you awake in ways a car never will. It kills bad habits, sharpens instincts, and quietly rewrites how you handle fear, stress, and ego. Most people think they're buying transportation. What they're actually buying is a personality upgrade they didn't know they needed. Number 1. Riding kills your autopilot. Why motorcycles force your brain awake in ways cars never will. Cars let you zone out. Motorcycles don't. The second you twist the throttle, your brain shifts into a mode most people haven't accessed since childhood. Total presence. You're not thinking about yesterday's argument or tomorrow's meeting. You're reading the SUV 2 lanes over that's drifting, the oil patch in the turn ahead, and whether that minivan actually sees you. Autopilot dies the moment survival depends on attention. Here's what that does over time. It rewires how you process the world off the bike, too. Riders report sharper situational awareness in everyday life, from noticing body language shifts, reading rooms faster, and catching details others miss. That's not coincidence. That's your brain learning that inattention has consequences, then applying that lesson everywhere. How 2 wheels train your mind to stay present or pay the price. A study on motorcycle rider cognition found that experienced riders demonstrate significantly faster hazard perception and decision-making compared to non-riders, even in non-riding context. Translation? Riding makes you better at life because it kills the mental cruise control most people live on. You can't scroll, zone out, or let your mind wander at 70 miles an hour with nothing between you and physics. Riding doesn't let you be lazy with your attention. And once your brain learns to stay sharp on the road, it stops accepting autopilot anywhere else. Number 2, it gives you earned confidence, not fake bravado. Why motorcycle confidence is the kind that actually sticks. Confidence from a bike isn't handed to you. It's earned in parking lots, tight corners, and near misses you handled without panicking. Every slow U-turn you nailed without dabbing a foot. Every panic stop that didn't turn into a low side. Every sketchy intersection you read right before the soccer mom proved you correct. Those stack. That's not your ego lying. That's receipts. Fake confidence comes from participation trophies and things you bought on credit. Earned confidence comes from things you survived, repeated, and turned into reflex. Riding beats the fake stuff out of you fast. You can't talk your way through a corner or buy skill off a showroom floor. Either you know how to manage a bike in the wet, or you find out the hard way. Either your throttle control is smooth, or it's jerky and everybody behind you notices. The bike tells the truth every single ride. How mastering 2 wheels teaches you to trust yourself when it counts. Research on skill acquisition shows competence built through high-stakes repetition produces way more durable self-confidence than low-risk wins. Motorcycles don't do low risk. Every ride is a pop quiz. The road grades pass-fail with no makeups. That confidence spreads everywhere. Job interviews shrink. Confrontations feel manageable. Risk stops looking like chaos and starts looking like math. You're not suddenly braver. You're just used to making calls when freezing costs more than acting. You've done that at speed. Everything else moves in slow motion. Number 3, your stress gets burned off the right way. Why riding works better than therapy for clearing your head. Stress doesn't evaporate because you want it to. It needs somewhere to go. Most people bury it in Netflix, booze, or scrolling until their thumbs cramp. Riders burn it off at redline. There's something primal about throttle therapy that actually works, not because it distracts you, but because it forces you to be so present that the bullshit can't follow. You can't carry office drama into a sweeper at 80. Your brain won't let you. It's too busy calculating entry, speed, apex, and exit while the body manages lean throttle and vision. The mental RAM gets flushed, hard. By the time you're 2 corners in, whatever was eating you an hour ago feels small and far away. Here's the kicker. It's not escapism. It's forced engagement with something that demands total focus. Your brain stops looping on problems it can't solve and locks in to problems it can, like not getting flattened by the guy texting in the Tahoe. How motorcycles rewire stress into something your body can handle. Studies on flow states show activities requiring intense focus and physical coordination significantly reduce cortisol and improve mood regulation. Riding checks every box. You're not numbing stress, you're processing it through movement, risk, and mastery. And when you park the bike, the stress is gone. Not buried, not postponed, just gone. That's not relaxation. That's a hard reset most people never experience. Number 4, you learn discipline fast or you pay for it. Why motorcycles don't negotiate with lazy habits. Discipline on a bike isn't optional. It's the entry fee. Skip your pre-ride check and find out your tire's been leaking for a week mid-corner. Forget to tighten your chain and watch it grenade your swing arm at highway speed. Blow off maintenance because it still runs fine, and discover what fine costs when your brakes fade on a downhill. The bike doesn't care about your excuses, it just collects. Cars forgive sloppiness. They let you coast on bald tires, ignore warning lights, and skip oil changes until the engine sounds like a dying lawnmower. Motorcycles? They'll let you ride exactly once on bad decisions, then hand you the receipt. Every shortcut you take shows up in handling, braking, or something breaking at the worst possible moment. Here's what that teaches. Discipline isn't punishment, it's insurance. Checking your chain isn't busy work, it's keeping your leg attached. Proper gear isn't paranoia, it's math. Staying sober, rested, and focused isn't being boring, it's being alive next week. How 2 wheels force you to respect process or eat consequences. Crash data consistently shows rider error and poor maintenance as leading factors in motorcycle accidents. Translation? Most crashes are optional. They're the bill for skipped steps and ignored warnings. Riding builds discipline because it punishes the absence of it immediately and publicly. You either tighten up your habits or the road tightens them for you. And once you learn that lesson on a bike, you start applying it everywhere else. Number 5. You get comfortable being uncomfortable. Why riding teaches you to stop fearing discomfort and start using it. Motorcycles are uncomfortable by design. Rain soaks you, heat cooks you, cold numbs your hands until you can barely feel the throttle. Your back aches, your wrists burn, long rides turn into endurance tests where comfort isn't an option, only management. Most people run from discomfort. Riders learn to sit in it and keep going. Here's what that does. It recalibrates your tolerance for things sucking. Traffic jams stop feeling like emergencies. Awkward conversations feel manageable. Challenges that used to rattle you become just another thing to handle while moving forward. You're not tougher, you're just used to functioning when conditions aren't ideal. Riding in the rain teaches you wet doesn't mean stop. Long hauls teach you sore doesn't mean quit. Cold mornings teach you numb hands still work if you keep moving. None of that is fun. All of it builds tolerance for discomfort that transfers everywhere. You stop needing everything to be perfect before you act. You learn the difference between actual danger and just being uncomfortable. And once you've ridden through both, most of life's hard stuff stops looking that hard. Number 6. You start reading people and situations better. Why riders develop instincts that work off the bike too. Survival on a motorcycle depends on reading intent before it becomes action. You don't wait for the car to actually merge into you. You read the driver's head position, the drift in their lane, the lack of signal. You predict stupid before stupid happens. Do that for a few thousand miles and your brain rewires to spot patterns everywhere. Off the bike, that skill bleeds into every interaction. You read body language faster, catch hesitation in voices, notice when someone's words don't match their posture. It's not paranoia, it's pattern recognition your brain learned to survive traffic. How motorcycles train you to see what people do before they do it. Research on hazard perception shows motorcyclists outperform car drivers in identifying threats earlier and predicting dangerous behavior. That's not accident, that's training. Riding forces you to assume everyone's about to do the dumbest thing possible, then position yourself accordingly. That mindset doesn't stay on the road. You start reading meetings, arguments, and sketchy situations the same way. Spotting exits, reading tells, staying 2 steps ahead. You don't trust words anymore. You trust patterns. And once you've learned to read traffic like a book, reading people becomes easy. Number 7. Your ego gets checked in public. Why motorcycles humble you faster than anything else. Your ego doesn't survive motorcycles. The bike doesn't care about your confidence, your opinions, or how good you think you are. It only cares about physics, and physics is undefeated. Drop it in a parking lot in front of a crowd? Humbling. Stall at a light while cars wait? Humbling. Misjudge a turn and have to brake mid-lean like a rookie? Humbling. Every mistake you make is loud, visible, and often documented by somebody's dash cam. There's no hiding incompetence on 2 wheels. Here's the lesson. Being wrong in public stops feeling like death. You learn to own mistakes fast because pretending they didn't happen doesn't work when your bike's on its side and strangers are watching. That kills the fragile ego that can't admit fault. How public failure on a bike teaches you to drop the act. Riders who have been down, stalled out, or fucked up visibly learn something car drivers never do. Humiliation doesn't kill you, and admitting you screwed up earns more respect than deflecting. The road checks your ego every ride. It reminds you that skill isn't permanent, attention matters, and nobody's too good to mess up. Once you accept that on a bike, you stop pretending to be flawless everywhere else. You get comfortable being human, and that's worth more than looking cool ever was. Number 8. You trade cheap dopamine, earned peace. Why riding kills the need for fake highs. Most people chase dopamine hits like addicts, scrolling, binge-watching, shopping for shit they don't need. It's empty, fades in minutes. Then they're back hunting for the next fix. Riding doesn't work like that. It doesn't give you a quick hit. It gives you earned peace that lasts. There's a difference between distraction and satisfaction. Distraction numbs you temporarily. Satisfaction comes from doing something hard, doing it well, and coming home knowing you handled it. Riding delivers the second kind. Every clean ride is proof you managed risk, made good calls, and didn't let the road collect. That feeling sticks. Hours later, you're still calm, centered, not because you escaped reality, but because you engaged with it fully and won. How motorcycles replace junk dopamine with something real. Neuroscience research shows flow state activities produce longer-lasting mood improvements than passive consumption. Riding checks every box: risk, skill, focus, reward. Your brain registers it as achievement, not distraction. Once you've felt real satisfaction, cheap stuff stops working. Scrolling feels hollow. Binge-watching feels like wasted time. You start craving rides instead of screens because your brain knows which one actually delivers. You're not running from life anymore. You're participating. And that shift changes everything about how you spend your time and what makes you feel alive. Number 9. You join a community that actually shows up. Why motorcycle riders are the last real brotherhood left. Most communities are fake. Social media groups where nobody actually meets. Work friends who vanish the second you change jobs. Gym bros who ghost when you need a spotter. Riders, different breed. Break down on the side of the road and watch who stops. Spoiler, it's another rider and they got tools. This isn't some feel-good myth. It's pattern. Riders wave at strangers on the road for no reason except shared risk. They'll help you fix a flat in a gas station parking lot without asking your name. Show up to a bike night and you got 20 new acquaintances who will actually remember you next week. Here's why that works. Riding filters for a specific type. People who handle their own problems, respect competence, and understand mutual aid isn't charity. It's insurance. You help today because you'll need it tomorrow. How two wheels build trust faster than years of small talk. The shared experience of managing risk creates instant credibility. You're not proving you're cool, proving you're competent, and competence earns respect faster than anything else. You don't need to perform or network or fake interest. You just ride. The community finds you. And when stuff goes sideways, mechanical, personal, whatever, they show up. Not because they owe you, because that's what riders do. Number 10. You stop fearing what you can control. Why riding teaches you the difference between danger and risk. Fear is useful when it's accurate. Most people fear the wrong things. Public speaking, rejection, looking stupid. Meanwhile, they ignore actual threats like texting while driving or never learning to emergency brake. Riding fixes that fast. It teaches you to fear physics and respect consequences. Then, stop wasting energy on everything else. Here's the shift. Once you've managed a bike at speed in traffic, in the rain, with some idiot drifting into your lane, your brain recalibrates what's actually dangerous. A tense conversation? Not dangerous. A job interview? Not dangerous. Asking for what you want? Not even close. Dangerous is a car turning left without seeing you. Everything else is just uncomfortable. How motorcycles teach you to control what matters and ignore the rest. You learn to separate real risk from imagined fear. Real risk has variables you can manage: speed, following distance, gear, attention. Imagined fear is just your brain lying about consequences that don't exist. Riding trains you to assess, prepare, and act instead of freezing or avoiding. You stop fearing failure because you've already failed in smaller ways and survived. You stop overthinking because hesitation on a bike gets you hurt. Once you know you can handle a machine that'll kill you if you're sloppy, everything else stops feeling serious. You're not fearless. You're just done being scared of things you can actually control. Why motorcycles don't just change how you ride, they change who you are. Riding doesn't fix your life. It forces you to show up for it, awake, disciplined, and honest about what you can control. The confidence, the clarity, the community. You don't get those from buying a bike. You earn them every mile you don't quit. Most people will never understand why you ride. That's fine. They're still on autopilot. You're not. If this hit different, subscribe for more brutal truths about riding that nobody else will tell you. Keep the rubber on the road.